Tourism Month in South Africa, providing an opportunity for a month-long focus on the importance of the sector to the South African economy. Now, South Africans urged to travel domestically, this in order to sustain jobs as well as support the recovery of the sector. Let's speak to Sibusiso Mkhwanazi, tourism and travel writer. So thank you so much for your time this evening, and happy Heritage Day. I mean, let's talk about the importance of what we call cultural tourism.
You know, I think let's start off by just defining what it is, right? So what is this thing that we're talking about? It is traveling with the idea that you are going to learn about the cultures of various people in different parts, not only in South Africa, but the rest of the world as well. You're going to learn, you're going to enjoy, and you're going to experience what it means as a cultural experience. So for example, I am from KwaThema in the East Rand here, and then if I go to KZN, for example, and I go and see what the Royal Reed dance that happened about 2 or 3 weeks ago, then I am learning what the Zulu Nation is all about, their customs, their traditions, why they do it. It's not only the nice part of things. I know there are so many things when it comes to customs that we think, I think this one is a little bit controversial. Should this be done? Should this not be done? Another example, if you look at the Eastern Cape, Amakwala, you know, those are the initiates that go on the mountain and then they come back as men. They go as boys, they come back as men. Some people think, oh my goodness, is this something that really needs to be happening? But tourism, cultural tourism, it explains why the Xhosa people do this, why it's part of their customs, and why it's important for them. And that is why, as people, we have to get out of our comfort zones. As Umswati, I know about Amaswati, but I need to know what does it mean to be Afrikaans if I'm going to travel to another part of the country, let's say, for example, in the Free State. If it means I have to leave South Africa as well and go to Germany and learn about their customs and their traditions, let us do it. That is why it is so important for cultural tourism to be one of the reasons why we are traveling.
And you know, when we talk about getting to learn more about each other, essentially, this is also quite important, especially when it comes to understanding, you know, what shapes us, what makes us who we are and what we do, but also in preserving culture and sharing knowledge with even those who are younger than us, who we are hoping to pass the baton to at some point.
My goodness, you could not have said it any better, because generally, in South Africa and Africa, oral tradition is how things are passed on, how history, how heritage, culture, traditions, all of those things, they are passed on by oral tradition. So we have to make sure that as the older generation, we pass these on to the younger ones. And if we are not traveling, if we are not making sure that we are telling the young ones, listen, let's get into the car or let's fly somewhere, a different part of South Africa. Let's go and experience what it means to be Chivenda, right? To be Venda, you go and you speak Chivenda, you go and learn about the Kilobedu language, you learn about Queen Mujaji, the Rain Queen. This is why it is so important for us to say, let us learn about what it means to be South African. But not only being South African, I'm going to go back to this point of it's not only about South Africa as well. If we have the opportunities, or should I say, we should make the opportunities to travel outside of our borders to learn about the Italian, the Europeans, the Americans, what makes them American, right? There's a certain something that makes someone American, their culture, their language. So last week or 2 weeks ago, I was in New York and I did the hop-on, hop-off bus, and they spend so much time drilling in what American culture is. They do this through the buildings when they tell you that on the right, you've got the Empire State Building. It was built by this American, this great American. We need to do more of this in South Africa because we've got the stories, we've got the culture. We just need to make sure that we are passing them on to the younger generations, and they're not only on TikTok.
And it also helps, especially to address some concerns that we may have domestically as well. You think about not only the issue of knowledge sharing, but it's important for the economy because it also preserves jobs.
my goodness, I think this is one of those reasons why, if you have not traveled in the last few months, do it for the jobs. So, for example, last year, the economy benefited about 121 billion rand. 121 billion rand from 38 million domestic trips. So these are South Africans who traveled within South Africa. And remember, for the last few years, South Africans have been traveling largely in South Africa because of the lockdown. So we made so much money for ourselves. So imagine when we then get a European or American, someone who's not from here, coming to spend their dollars and their euros. Then in Unu, in the middle of nowhere, you have a gogo who is selling curios, right? She's Xhosa. Now she can make something, she can sell this, and also she's passing on this culture of hers, the traditions that have been passed down from her grandmother to her mother to her. Now she's doing that not only to her grandkids, but to the people who are now coming there to enjoy what it means to be Xhosa. You can imagine if you're German and they are going to tell you about a language that uses clicks, you're thinking, what on earth are they talking about? You get on a plane, you go to the Eastern Cape, and you listen to these stories. You listen to the poetry that's part of it, Imbongi, and you think, this is why I travel. This is why it is so important for cultural tourism to be the #1 reason why all of us should be traveling.
And of course, you know, one of the big things that we often talk about is the need to address some of, you know, the challenges, for example, infrastructure, but also to ensure that we make it easier. And I remember at some point when you and I were chatting about this, we were talking about just after COVID-19, things were difficult somewhat to travel domestically because of the prices when it comes to airlines and all of that. But right now, have things improved in that regard?
Things have certainly improved in terms of infrastructure. So a lot of hotels, a lot of establishments have made sure that if you need a ramp for your wheelchair, or maybe you use a crutch, or there's some or other accessibility issue that you have, they are trying, they really have improved. I've seen a few myself as well. Then in terms of airlines, in terms of how expensive travel is, domestically, it has improved a little bit, you know, but it's not cheap enough where you can say South Africans, a whole lot more South Africans are using more airlines in South Africa. What people are doing, they are using other means of getting around South Africa. A lot of people are driving, for example, from Joburg to Cape Town. A lot of people used to fly when there was specials for like 800 Rand or 1,000. Now they get into the car and it's cheaper for them to fly. Yes, it will take you longer, but it is slightly getting better in terms of affordability. But when you think of initiatives like about short left, those are making sure that pricing is average. So the average South African will be able to go to Mpumalanga, to Limpopo, even here in Gauteng, and say, listen, I can stay 2 nights at a 2-star hotel or establishment at 1,500 Rand, which is 750 Rand a night. It's not too bad. So it depends also where you are in South Africa. Also your social standing. There's a lot of people who still think, I don't need to travel, but I can tell you the best education comes from traveling.
All right, I'm sold. Possibly, maybe I should take some downtime and just travel a bit.
Please.
Just travel a bit. Thank you so much.
Not a bit, a lot, a lot.
I have work to do, Sibusiso, but I'll try. Thank you so much for chatting to us. That was Sibusiso Mkhwanazi, the tourism and travel writer.